queen endings are most unexplored or least explored part of a chess game. It's very difficult to explore the queen's ending because there's unlimited number of checks, maneuvers with the kings, and that's not maneuvers with the queen. And every time, in order to win, you have to push the pawn, and when you push pawn one square, different series of checks starts, and it's very, very hard to assess in some, assess not in a way who is better, but whether it's a one or to predict the result. So the exception is, of course, very simple queen endings. For example, we have this position. This I would say it's for the category of the easy end games. Here is an easy queen ending. One example of easy queen ending, because white is going to simply push the pawn and make a new queen, because black doesn't have checks or anything, any counterplay. Well, those are not the kind of end games I was referring to. I am referring to even the end games with a queen and one pawn versus queen only. Those are even very difficult positions to play. Well, there are some basics, and that's all I can show you. Now, I can show you tell you some basics how to assess the queen ending. When you're playing, remember in a chapter of the rook endings, we said the good pawns are, if you have a rook and pawn versus rook, the good pawns are bishop pawns and central pawns. Exactly opposite is in the queen ending. The good pawns are bishop and rook pawns. When you have a knight and rook pawns. When you have a knight pawn, you have a good chance to get away from the perpetual check. Because when you have the queen pawn or rook or king pawn, which is the same central pawns, black has a lot higher percentage of drawing here, chances. The reason why is this. Very simple logical reason is, once you push the pawn farther away, closer to queening square, there will start checks. And when there start checks, you can end checks by going to the back, and it's still going to be difficult to queen. But if you imagine if you had the central pawns, then the queen can start checking you from one side or the other side. So you don't want your opponent to have two sides. It's not important in rook ending because one rook cannot be on both sides at the same time. Queen can. So, and this is not good good winning percentage position. Good percentage winning position. So this one is because there is only one side where your opponent can be checking you from, and there is no queen side. So this is like a main principle. So in order to play queen ending, you have to know very well. I'm generalizing when I say queen ending with extra pawn, with equal number of pawns. You have to know very well the pawn ending. Because if you don't know well the pawn ending, how can you play queen ending? How would you know when it's okay to exchange queens and when it's not? So in order to know that, you have to know very well your pawn endings. You have to know basics, that value of a pass pawn is very high in a queen ending, because pass pawn in queen ending can never be stopped. Because queen, as you can tell, in queen ending cannot stop any passed pawn. Well, here is the example. If the passed pawn is stopped, white can go queen c5 and queen c7. Eventually it's going to move. You can try to perpetual check or try to make counter play with your own passed pawn, or try to create some threats to your opponent's king. That's the way it should be done. Passed pawns are very important, and knowing end games, pawn endings, is very important. Well, let me show you a couple of interesting tactical shots in queen ending. Well, this is it's not really the tactical shots, how you should be playing the queen ending. Well, here is the position. Here is the position where white gives queen f2 check. Now, my question is, black has winning chances here, of course, significant winning chances. But if white goes queen f2 check, can black play queen b6? Looks like queen b6 wins very easily, because after exchange of queens, black king is going to come over and pick up the other pawn, and black wins without any problems. However, queen b6 check leads to a draw. White simply goes king h1. This is very tricky move. Now, if black plays queen takes f2, it's a stalemate, and only other thing black can do is to go king a6. But then you go queen f1 check, forcing the king back, and you go queen f2 again. So there is no way black can make any progress. They have only one move, only two moves, king a6 or queen takes queen, and both lead to immediate draw. This is all you have to know in the queen ending. Well, I've never learned theoretical position, and I've been playing chess for long enough. I've never seen well-known theoretical position in a queen ending. I've seen them in knight ending, in bishop ending, and a lot in rook and pawn endings. But there are no theoretical positions that are well known in queen endings. The basic principles, again, I will repeat. So it's good to have very passed pawn, and if your opponent has, quickly look for the counterplay against his king, or quickly activate your passed pawn. If you cannot do one or the other, you are in serious trouble. So to have that and to know your pawn endings is the all you need to know about queen endings. So those are the basic principles of it.